Hello and welcome back to the Growth Vantage Podcast. My name is Garrett Vita and I'm your host. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so glad that you are here. I'm so excited to talk about this topic because we all go through adversity, and I feel like this episode is for anyone and everyone in any situation. And we really have these questions that can really prepare you, can really help you really power through adversity sooner and quicker so that you can really get out of a slump or prevent a slump. Many times we all face adversity in any shape or form, and adversities are hard, and it's hard, especially when you're in that moment and you don't exactly know how to navigate. And so when I was really thinking about like how do we actually get through adversity, and it dawned on me is like the way we really get through adversity is through questions that we ask ourselves. And so when we ask ourselves the right questions, the more attention about these questions, it can really help us pinpoint, help us focus, and help us ground us in those moments to really figure out, okay, here's what's happening, here's what I need to do next. And that's really what you want to do in big picture of adversity is like, okay, cool. This part sucks I'm going through, but how am I get past it? And so here are 3 questions I really go through and I've learned to ask myself so that I can really get collective, so I can make an informed decision, so I can get out of a slump and really get back on track. First question is, who's winning the emotional game? So this is referring to you versus your emotions. In any adversity, no matter what it is, your emotions will be triggered. Plain and simple. There's nothing we can really do to prevent it, but it's just the way we humans are. Emotions are tied to who we are, what we do, why we do things, and everything that we do. And so when these adversities occur in any shape or form, we get stunned. We don't, anxiety, fear, whatever the emotion is comes in. And so we really need to ask ourselves that question as soon as possible and really ground ourselves in the context of whatever is happening. Yes, we're going through adversity, but does not mean we need to be emotionally engulfed and let our emotions dictate what our next steps are. When we let our emotions dictate what we do, they become irrational, illogical, not sound, and it perceives like we are on the right track, but we are not. The reason why we know that is because you end up veering off the track even farther than you really expect when you really look back at the situation. So it's so vital to really ask yourself that question and really be honest with yourself too. If you're in that moment and you're saying, man, my emotions are really taking that game so far, that is okay. That is so important that you actually acknowledge that your emotions are winning that game. Why when you accept that, you can actually move on and help you gain more clarity. By you accepting that if in that situation your emotions are getting or winning that game, that's okay. Because that single point in time, that marked when you are actually winning that game now. Sounds kind of intuitive, but once we know that we are accepting and acknowledging that emotion is done, that's when the clarity and our next steps can actually form. No matter what you do, win that game of emotions, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable with who's winning that game as well. Because at some point in time, our emotions do get the best of us, but when we can really be honest and vulnerable to ourselves when that moment is, the sooner we can really pivot and really make a better decision for the next steps and moving forward. Second question you need to ask yourself is, who do I need to contact next? Who do I need to seek out next? So this refers to maybe resources, maybe your next sale, maybe a person, anything that can help you get your mind to the next thing. So the emphasis point here is next. So many times in adversity, we always think about, mistakes we made, the mistakes we did. I wish I did this. I wish I did that. Whatever it is. That's always retrospective. When we think about this question, we want to look prospectively to the future and through the emphasis of next. That really gets us in the format of, hey, it happened. I can't do anything about the past. I need to do this now. And so when we think about the first part of who do I need to seek out, that is so important because when we're in adversity, we always think about ourselves in we're in this bubble, hey, all this is so happening to me, time to me only, which is totally correct. And we get so in our head, we put these like earmuffs and we put blinders on to, which doesn't allow us to really see clearly. And so that's why it's so important to really seek outside of yourself for help, whether it's a mentor, maybe you need a podcast, maybe you need just a random stranger to hear you out, whatever it is. Get another opinion, get advice that you need to really help you ground you and see from a different perspective your blind spots. When we're in adversity, there are so many blind spots that we have. It comes so much more exaggerated and more to the surface when adversity happens, because that's something usually happens because of our own blind spots or mistakes. And so when those adversity comes, it comes. And so when we aren't really getting an outside perspective, we are more vulnerable to those because we are at their mercy. Since we are usually in a down state, usually we aren't mentally thinking as correctly. So it's important to really think about, hey, who can I go to? Is there a resource that could help me get my mind right? Do I need to relax more? Whatever it is that will help you get to next. The third question is, where am I at with time? The thing about adversity is that there's always a time component, whether it be very long or very short. Each period of that adversity that we go through, and also time period as well. We want to monitor of when each parts of those occur. There's always a beginning, middle, and the end. We want to figure out where are we at with it. Do we just start this journey through adversity? Did we get through the hard part, or are we really getting back on track? When we start to really understand time in it, we can really understand like, okay, this is temporary. This is not going to last forever. And so we want to see like, okay, how much longer do I have to go through this? When we think about like time, we want to use it to our benefit. When we're in adversity, we really think about like time as in like it feels forever, and feels like forever in that being that moment. But we really need to like ground ourselves. Okay, started here. It's been this long since this happened. I'm going through this now. Okay, cool. It's only been X amount of time. Okay, so I just need to get through this so I can get back on track. Because when you really look back at those situations, you realize, oh wow, I was only going through that for like 3 months. When the grand scheme of life, 3 months is really nothing. And so when we can ask ourselves that question sooner, it can really help us ground us and really help us be present and to find a solution so that, hey, okay, pain is only temporary. Adversity is temporary. It won't last long. Okay, cool. I know that now. What can I do next to really figure out how can I get past this time perception of, emotions, whatever it is. Many times adversity feels like overbearing. But when we use time as our friend, hey, dude, those emotions can get out of the way. It's only going to be a short amount of time. I was only feeling this for X amount of time. Use time as your friend and allow yourself to really see in the bigger picture, the grand scheme of your life and your career. And you can get out through adversity a lot sooner and quicker. Remember, those 3 questions. 1, where am I at with time? 2, who do I need to seek out next? And 3, who's winning the emotional game? Use those 3 questions to help you power through adversity quicker and sooner so that you can really get back on track and we get to the momentum that you're seeking for. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.